Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Just as we've started trying to get on the air about 40 minutes ago. All of a sudden we got some weird music and Big K was putting on a commercial. I don't know where it was coming from, but as soon as it started, it has now stopped, and it's taken me 40 minutes to get rid of it, whatever it's been. But we're here live on the air with you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We appreciate all of you being here. Now, we've also had something else happen since we've been trying to get on the air. Over here in Mindanao, Philippines, just off the coast of Mindanao, Philippines, guys, this is incredible. I didn't think this would happen, but it has. We have a 7.0 earthquake off the northeast coast of Mindanao, Philippines. This is concerning. This is very concerning. Now, why do I say that? Because just about 4 to 5 months ago, I don't remember exactly, but 4 to 5 months ago, right in the same area just north of here, we had an 8.4 earthquake. Now we've had a 7.0 right close to shore, and USGS has already downgraded to a 6.8. A 6.8 earthquake. They've already downgraded it. Now, because this is so close to shore, this is 19 kilometers east of Barcelona, Philippines, east of Mindanao, Philippines. Because it's so close to shore, there's going to be damage. This just happened. We don't have any reports of damage as of yet, but this is going to cause damage and possibly even loss of life. Even though it's close to the shore, the waters here in the Pacific Ocean may have absorbed some of the shock waves, but I don't think all of it. I don't think all of it. This is going to cause damage here on shoreline, and I'm zooming in here to let you know, really show you how close to shore it was, and also I'm going to zoom in here to show you hopefully settlements of people here. Yes, there is a small town right here. They felt this quake. They felt this quake. And further south here as well, I'm sure there are settlements here along this river, for example, here. Yes, there are settlements of people here. Now, folks, this could be mean. This could be very mean. I'm going up here to the north here at Mindanao, Philippines. I know for a fact there are towns and cities up and down this area. Okay? I know for a fact. Because when we had the 8.4 earthquake that was a little bit further offshore, these people had some damage. Okay? This is ongoing. Okay? This is 17.2 kilometers deep. This is a very shallow quake. This is a very shallow quake, guys. I want you to know that. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more repercussions from this quake than we're seeing right now. Okay? I really have that feeling. It's going to be something big. It's going to be something really big. Now, this is not the only earthquake that's happened. This is the largest, though. This is a 7.0 earthquake, 19 kilometers east of Barcelona, Philippines. As soon as we have information on damages, we will pass that on to you. I want to welcome everybody that's here. We have Demon Catman, Tammy Steppy, and Hurricane Heather here as mods here. NCWQ is here as well. Let's see if we have my buddy Don Patoka. I don't think he's here yet. Don Patoka is here. Howdy, y'all, Don said. Thank you for being here, Don. We appreciate it. We have a full complement of mods here, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate all those who are joining us here. Please, guys, if you're here, please give us a thumbs up. If you're here, don't go away, because if you do, after a very short time, you're not going to get the full message of what we're going to be talking about tonight. This is a very serious conversation we're going to have here tonight. We're going to talk about Cascadia. We're going to talk about the new Madrid fault, and then there's new evidence that has come out about the shooting over in Butler, Pennsylvania. So stay tuned for that. You're going to want to know that. Okay? You're going to want to know that. Hurricane Heather says, yes, sir. I appreciate that, Heather. I really do. Heather calls me sir for whatever reason. I've jokingly said, don't call me sir. I work for a living. When I was a police officer, I had people that called me sir all the time. I was not military. I was a police officer. Yes, that is respectful. It is respectful, but I always jokingly said, don't call me sir, I work for a living. Call me Mr. Tyler, call me Officer Tyler, call me Ron. I never liked the term sir, ever. But Hurricane Heather's done it, and that's okay. Don Patoka says, can you handle the truth here? Evidence that matters and counts concerning your security and well-being. It may not be comfortable or what you want to hear, but welcome y'all. I say that as well. What you're going to hear here tonight may not be totally comfortable. I want you to know that we're trying our best to get you the truth. I don't like to not tell the truth. I don't do that. I've never lied to you yet, and I'm not going to start. This other earthquake down here in the south central part of the Philippines here, this is in the Banda Sea. This is a 4.5 earthquake in the Banda Sea. It's a moderate earthquake. Notice where it's at. It's on one of the earthquake faults down here to the south in Indonesia. There are 7 different earthquake faults down in this region. 7 different earthquake faults. We have actually not faults, but plates, tectonic plates. We have one plate over here near Samoa and Tonga. Today over here near Huoma, Tonga, we have a 5.0 earthquake. This is on one side of one plate. We also have the Indo-Australia plate right here where you see Australia. One plate there. Down here, this is a 5.1 earthquake on the Southeast Indian Ridge, or what I want to call the Antarctic Ridge down here. The Antarctic Ridge. That is another plate. We have 4 or 5, well, actually 5 other plates in this area, composing this west central part of the Pacific, the southwest part of the Pacific down here, composing Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, the Legacy Islands, Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, Papua Indonesia, Australia, down here on the Antarctic Ridge, over here in the Philippines, also over in the area of Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar region over here on the far west side right here, going all the way up here into Taiwan, and going up here into Japan. 7 different tectonic plates. It's the largest subduction zone in the world. Largest subduction zone in the world. That is why we have so many earthquakes here. Also over here in the Southern Mariana Islands. This is a 5.1 earthquake. A 5.1 earthquake. This is 204 kilometers east-southeast of Yigo Village, Guam. South of Yigo Village, Guam, here in the southern part of the Mariana Island region. Okay? 7 different tectonic plates in here. That's why we have earthquakes. Some time ago, I had a woman that wrote me from Indonesia asking me, Ron, why do we have so many earthquakes? I just explained that to you. When you have 7 different tectonic plates moving, and some of them subducting one under the other at each time, that's why we have so many earthquakes, and that's also why we have so many dangerous earthquakes. Now, the USGS is not showing us all the earthquakes at all. They never do. There's about 36 earthquakes here in Indonesia today. USGS is showing us one over here in the Banda Sea. They're showing us another over here in Papua New Guinea, a 4.6, 156 kilometers deep, Papua New Guinea. And another one here, a 5.0 in the Solomon Islands. We go further east over here, a 4.4 also in Lata, Solomon Islands here, and again over in Tonga. And down here on the Antarctic Ridge. A 5.1 here, a 5.0 in Tonga. Over here in Papua New Guinea, we have another 5.0. Over here in Mindanao, Philippines, just off the northeast coast of Mindanao, Philippines, we have a major 7.0 earthquake. Even though the USBS is downgraded to a 6.8, it doesn't mean it is a 6.8. They can say whatever they want. 9 times out of 10, the agencies are wrong. The agencies are wrong. Now, I may be coming back on the air tomorrow to tell you what this earthquake was. As I research it, I'll find out. I have not had a chance to research this earthquake yet, but I will do that. Over here in Guam, we have another 5.1. Okay, so we've had 4 5.0 large earthquakes here, as well as a 7.0 earthquake over in the Philippines today. 4 large earthquakes and 1 major earthquake. We've been waiting for this. I knew it was going to happen. The Philippines always has a major earthquake sometime during the summer months. Sometime during the summer months, and sometimes it happens in early spring. Okay? Let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. Down here in the southern part of Mindanao, Philippines here. Right here. Okay? Right in this area here. This is Davao, Philippines. Davao, Philippines. This is the largest city in Mindanao, Philippines. Just a few years ago, about 4 years ago, we had several 7.0s, 7.4s, and 7.6s here in Mindanao, Philippines. It destroyed homes. It destroyed businesses. We had photos, and not just photos, but videos showing water pouring out of the top of high-rise buildings and high-rise hotels where the swimming pools were on the roof. Water pouring down the sides of the buildings from the shaking of the buildings. Okay? That's what happened here in Mindanao, Philippines, and Davao, Philippines. School buildings were destroyed. Youngsters couldn't go to school here for quite some time. They had rebuilt the school buildings here. But today, over here off the northeast shoreline, they had another major earthquake. The second major earthquake this year. Just north of here, over just east of this little, what shall I call it, a bay here. Just east of this bay here, this is where the 8.4 earthquake was. And many other aftershocks. Now this 7.0 has already had at least 1 aftershock. There's going to be many, many more aftershocks from this earthquake. And now we're seeing another one. This is a 5.3. This is also 81 kilometers deep. Okay? We're going to see many more just like it. We may see even larger earthquakes than that are aftershocks. Probably 6s, 6.5 aftershocks, as well as large earthquakes and moderate earthquakes as well. We're going to see a lot of aftershocks from that 7.0 major earthquake. We knew it was going to happen. We knew for a fact it was going to happen. One other earthquake over here in Kazakhstan. This is 101 kilometers east-northeast of Kurchum, Kazakhstan. It's a moderate 4.8 earthquake. USGS would deem it a light earthquake. It's not. 4.0, 4.9 earthquakes cause moderate damage. So I'm not going to stop calling them moderate earthquakes. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to call a spade a spade. Further south over here in Uzbekistan, this is a 4.4 moderate earthquake here. Okay? And yes, there are other earthquakes all over this region. Literally all over this region. One of the things I'm going to talk about in a few minutes is over here in the Turkey-Syria border region. I've got a picture of some of the damage that was had here in Turkey-Syria border area when a major 9.0, 10.0 earthquake hit here. This happened last February 3rd, 2023. It came out as a 7.8, and it turns out it was a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. USGS had it as a 7.8, and it was actually a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. I'm going to be talking about that again in a few minutes. Just briefly. They've done it to him again. They always do this. Whenever I'm on a roll, they do this to me. They froze my USGS map. Go figure. Go figure. Now, we've also had another good-sized earthquake. It's just a moderate earthquake, though, over off the coast, the northwest coast of Vancouver Island. The northwest coast of Vancouver Island. This is a 4.1 earthquake. This is a moderate 4.1 earthquake. We've had many earthquakes here. Yesterday I showed you the Canadian map. We have a lot of earthquakes here. Now, just about a month ago we had 6s here. We had very strong 6.1s, 6.0s, 6.4s, 6.3s in this area. Even 2 6.6s. We've now had another 4.1 earthquake here. This is 10 kilometers deep or 6 miles deep here. It's on the Juan de Fuca fault line. We're going to be talking about the Juan de Fuca fault line and the Cascadia subduction zone in just a few minutes. While I've got you here, look over here in Washington State. Look over here at Mount St. Helens. Numerous earthquakes at Mount St. Helens. We go north, right here. Guess what? Mount Rainier is having earthquakes. Mount Rainier is having earthquakes. We go further up into the Puget Sound area. USBS is calling this an explosion, a 1.6 explosion here. Folks, let me zoom in here and let me show you where it's at. It's not an explosion. It's absolutely not an explosion. This is a 1.6 tremor. This is a 1.6 tremor here. It's in a farmer's field. Yes, this map is an old map. It doesn't always show us exactly what is going on at any specific time. But this was not an explosion. We don't have any record of there being an explosion over here near Port Ludlow, Washington. This is 6 kilometers southwest of Port Ludlow, Washington. This is a tremor, not an explosion. I wish USGS would get its frickin' act together. They call things explosions when they should be earthquakes. They call things explosions when they should be earthquakes. Again, over here at Mount Rainier, they're calling this a 0.2 microquake here at Mount Rainier. This is not at the summit of Mount Rainier. This just happens to be nearly a half mile deep inside Mount Rainier. Okay? But it's not just one microquake. There are dozens of microquakes here at Mount Rainier. I happen to know there's also tons of tremors. There are also tons of minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.9. There's also at least 2 3.0 earthquakes here at Mount Rainier today. They never tell us the truth, and they never show us exactly what's going on here at these volcanoes. Mount Rainier is getting ready to erupt. We're going to talk about that again in a few minutes. Over here, Mount St. Helens. USGS is saying this is a 0.0 surface quake. It's not. This happens to be 1.25 miles deep inside the volcano. 1.25 miles deep inside the volcano. It's not a 0.0 surface quake. They're full of crap. Just barely northwest of Mount St. Helens, we have a 0.7 microquake. Out here to the east here, again, USBS is calling this an explosion. A 0.8 explosion here. It's not an explosion here. It's not an other event here either. Okay? This happens to be nearly 2 miles deep. This is a tremor. A microquake tremor here. A microquake tremor here. This is not another event. This is not an explosion. Whenever we see these diamond shapes, USGS puts these diamond shapes up as explosions. They're not. Unless it's at a quarry or there has been an explosion that we have verified, it's not. There has been no explosion here in Washington State at all. I don't know why USGS continues to lie to us. East of Mount St. Helens here is Mount Adams. We showed you a 2.0 earthquake here at Mount Adams the other day. Okay? It happens all the time. It happens all the doggone time. Now, further south, guess what? Just east of Mount Rainier, in the foothills of Mount Rainier, or not Mount Rainier, I'm sorry, the foothills of Mount Hood. Just east of Mount Hood in the foothills. This is a 0.6 microquake. A 0.6 microquake over here in the foothills of Mount Hood. Now, folks, there are a lot of other earthquakes around Mount Hood as well, and inside the volcano. But again, they are lying to the public. Them saying that there's nothing going on is a lie. Omission is a lie, no matter how you cut it. If you're omitting the truth, it's a lie. And that's what they're doing here. They do it quite often. Very often. Now, I have a few other fish to kill here. Okay? I've shown you a little bit around the world, here in the United States as well. Let's leave this here right now. I have a lot more information to show you. Okay? We have earthquakes all the time, don't we? Just off the coast of Washington here, we're going to have a very major earthquake. A Cascadia major earthquake. A 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that's probably going to happen within the next 5 years. With all the earthquakes that we are having here off the coast of Vancouver, Washington, or Vancouver Island, Canada, Washington and Oregon and California, it's going to happen. We're going to have a major Cascadia megathrust earthquake, a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake right in this region here. What you're seeing here, folks, you see this body of water leaving the Pacific Ocean here, and it's going between Vancouver Island and Washington. That's called the Strait of Juan de Fuca. The Strait of Juan de Fuca. You also see this red line here that runs down the coastline of Vancouver Island, Washington, Oregon, and even down into Northern California. It's called the Cascadia subduction zone. The Cascadia subduction zone. Now, while I'm showing this to you, let's think about what we've been talking about here. It's very important we understand what's going on. Now, this is the most dangerous part of the West Coast Fault. It's the most dangerous part of the West Coast Fault. Okay? I'll be returning this map in just a second. I want to show you what else is here. Right here. Okay? This is what they call the ghost forest. The ghost forest. Over 232 years ago, in 1700, year 1700, we had a Cascadia megathrust earthquake, the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. Nobody living here right now has ever seen this. This happened before anybody here was born. But we had a mariner out to sea that saw Mount Rainier or Glacier Peak erupting at the time of the Cascadia earthquake. That mariner also saw the tsunami that crossed the Pacific from Washington going all the way over to Japan. The people in Japan kept immaculate records. That is why we know the date and the time that this earthquake hit in Washington. American Indians were also here. They also kept some records. They thought it was a great big hawk that caused the earthquake. They actually thought it was a great big hawk. The stumps of the Nescowan ghost forest just off the coast of Oregon are the remains of an ancient spruce forest that were suddenly lowered and buried in the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. These stumps off the coast of Oregon are not the only ghost forests that exist. There's other ghost forests also in Washington state. The stumps of the ghost forest are shown protruding from the sand here that have been estimated to be more than 2,000 years old. The trees themselves are estimated to be over 2,000 years old. The most destructive Cascadia earthquakes are likely to slam offshore of Washington state and Vancouver Island. New data reveals what's going on here. The Cascadia megathrust earthquake is a massive fault thought to be capable of generating a devastating magnitude 9 to 10.0 earthquake. A 9 to 10.0 earthquake. That's a big deal, isn't it? It surely is. It's a great, big, huge deal. A huge, huge deal. Okay? But this is just the beginning of the story. We have talked about the Cascadia earthquake before. We talked about these ghost forests and other evidence of what happened when the Cascadia earthquake hit. I want to give you a little more history so you understand what happened. Okay? The Cascadia megathrust earthquake is a massive fault just off the coast of British Columbia, Canada, and off the coast of Washington and Oregon and Northern California. The earthquake that we are expecting to have is going to be at least a 9.0 to a 10.0 earthquake. It's going to be similar to the 2011 Tohoku tremor in Japan. That earthquake was thought to be a 9.0 earthquake, but its structure has long eluded scientists. Now, data from the most comprehensive survey has yet to show that the fault is not a single continuous fracture, but it's comprised of at least 4 segments. The Cascadia megathrust fault, the fault zone itself, is comprised of at least 4 segments. Comprised of at least 4 segments. I'm sorry. There it is right there. I want to talk to you so you understand what's going on. Many of you live over here off the west coast of Washington, Oregon, or Canada. The most dangerous areas appear to stretch from off the coast of southern Vancouver Island through Washington state. The Cascadia megathrust is a huge risk to people living in the Pacific Northwest. A man named Edwin Neeson, who's a seismologist of the University of Victoria in British Columbia, Canada. He was not involved in the study, but he is the one telling us the story. While the portion of the fault extends from near the island's southwest coastline, it may be the most likely host to the largest earthquakes. Segments of the Cascadia fault zone may be the most likely to host the largest earthquakes, and the segments further south along the Oregon's coast may be more likely to experience slightly smaller and more frequent tremors. What he's talking about is we are going to see probably 6.0, 7.0, 7.8, 7.5 type of quakes off the coast of Oregon very soon. The largest ones we've seen so far in the last 5.5 years that I've been doing this are 5.3s, 5.5 earthquakes over there off the coast of Oregon near the Blanco fracture zone. That's the kind of earthquakes that we've had here in the last 5.5 years. But this scientist is saying that there's likely to be 7.0s, 6.0s, 5.0s, and such off the coast of Oregon, even Washington, before the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happens. Washington has already seen 6.5 and 6.9 earthquakes over in the Seattle-Tacoma area. Megathrust faults occur where two tectonic plates converge. The Juan de Fuca fault, the Juan de Fuca plate, and the Pacific plate. Two different tectonic plates converge, especially in places where one plate pushes under the other. In this case, the Juan de Fuca plate pushing up under the North American plate. The Juan de Fuca plate pushing underneath the North American plate, and the Pacific plate pushing underneath the North American plate as well. The plates typically get stuck and periodically slip, releasing immense amounts of earth-shaking energy. Again, the plates typically get stuck and periodically slip, releasing immense amounts of earth-shaking energy. Such settings have generated the largest temblors in history, including the 2004 Sumatra quake. The 2004 Sumatra quake. Now, I was not on the air at the time of the 2004 Sumatra quake, but I looked at it. I remember hearing about it, and I studied it. That was a huge subduction zone quake as well. Sumatra, Indonesia. Off the west coast of North America, the Cascadia megathrust earthquake that we're looking at the map here follows a shoreline roughly 1,000 kilometers from British Columbia to Northern California. From Queen Charlotte Island, British Columbia, all the way down to Northern California. It is where the northeast-bound Juan de Fuca plate slides underneath the North American plate. In the last 10,000 years, 19 quakes greater than a magnitude 9 have rocked Cascadia. In the last 10,000 years, 19 earthquakes greater than the magnitude 9 have rocked Cascadia. Can you imagine a 10.0 earthquake? Many 10.0 earthquakes rocking this area. This is when the area was not as populated as it is now. It's populated very heavily now. Heavily populated, densely populated. And that's why when this earthquake hits again, it's going to result in a lot of deaths, a lot of fatalities, and a lot of injuries. The most recent, a magnitude 9 that struck in 1700. The Cascadia megathrust earthquake last struck in 1700. It dropped coastal forests into the tidal zone. The land fell. The land fell, as I showed you just a few minutes ago in that picture, showing you the ghost forest. The land fell. The coastal forest fell into the tidal zone, into the water, and formed tsunami waves that reached Japan. Now, we've all been talking about the tsunami wave that's going to happen after the next Cascadia megathrust earthquake. The wave is going to be anywhere from 50 feet to 150 feet high. What's going to happen? Right after the Cascadia earthquake hits, right after the Cascadia earthquake hits, what's going to happen? We're going to see shorelines devoid of water. The water is going to go out from the shoreline into the ocean, meaning we're going to have a lot of shoreline left bare. for a few minutes. Within 15 to 20 minutes after the earthquake hits, the water's going to be out at sea and it's going to come rushing back into the shoreline. A huge tsunami wave, 50 to 150 feet high, is going to rush the shoreline. What people and damage the quake didn't finish with, the tsunami wave will. What damage the earthquake doesn't finish, the tsunami wave will. That huge wall of water is going to hit the buildings, the homes, the ships, anything that was standing. The water is going to hit and it's going to either swamp it or destroy it. That tsunami wave again is going to go all the way up into Alaska and all the way down into northern Mexico. It's also going to reach out into Russia, Kamchatka, Russia, Alaska, Japan, and Hawaii, and other islands of the world. That tsunami wave is going to be all over the world, all over the Pacific coast. Okay? Hurricane Heather says, when the water disappears, it's going to bring back the ocean in a huge way. In a huge way. Okay? I don't want to paint a pretty picture here. It could happen at any time. It could happen tomorrow, next week, next year, or even up to 5 years from now. Some scientists are saying it might not hit for 25 to 50 years. I don't think so. I think it's going to hit a lot sooner, given the earthquakes that we see happening now. It's going to happen a lot sooner. The imminent threat of the next Cascadian earthquake has inspired a slew of articles, books, and documentaries. Many of you have seen the books and documentaries listed on YouTube or listed on Amazon. They're everywhere. I even have a couple of the books here in my collection here. And yet, compared with the megathrust offshore Japan, New Zealand, the Cascadia fault is poorly understood. Most subduction zones have lots of small quakes. Those small quakes are occurring all the time. I show you the quakes for a reason, because the USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network won't do it. That's why I show you the seismograms on a frequent basis. Those earthquakes, those small quakes, are continuing to occur all the time. Now, those quakes give us a lot of information about the geometry of the faults. If you study some of the quakes like I do, and most of the scientists do, it gives a good geometry of the faults. Cascadia is eerily quiet in terms of seismicity. Cascadia is eerily quiet in terms of seismicity because we see the gradual growth of the quakes all the time. The quakes are getting larger and larger all the time, all up and down the coastline. In 2021, marine geophysicist Suzanne Carbot of Columbia University and colleagues aboard the research vessel Marcus G. Langseth studied and conducted a seismic study along the 900-kilometer stretch of the Cascadia subduction zone. They towed underwater air guns. Behind the ship. The air guns blasted sound waves off the sea floor. Those air guns that were tied behind the vessel blasted sound waves off the ocean's floor. Different faults off the coast and layers of rock underground reflected those waves back to the boat. Now, those sound waves were detected by a 15-kilometer long array of receivers. There was a 15-kilometer long array of receivers that were pulled behind the ship. It is the first time that a regional survey that spans almost the whole subduction zone has been conducted. Now, I also need to tell you that about 3 years ago, Oregon State University also was granted some money. they bought a bunch of seismographs and stuck them off the ocean floor off the coast of Oregon. 51 different seismographs were placed on the ocean floor off the coast of Oregon, also to help map those earthquakes. Have we seen the seismograms coming from those machines? No, we haven't. They've kept that information very quiet for whatever reason. So this study, done just about a handful of years ago, pulling these air guns and these arrays that were receiving data from these air guns that were blasting sound waves off the ocean floor, mapping the floor. That study was done. The seismographs that were placed off the coast about 3.5 years ago were also done. Prior to this, people had looked at small regions, like on the order of 200 kilometers at most. The data revealed that as the Juan de Fuca plate grinds underneath the North American plate, again, the Juan de Fuca plate is going up underneath the North American continent. The North American continent is where all of us live. All of us live on the North American continent, on the North American plate. The Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific plate are taking a deep dive underneath the North American plate. Okay? Now, as the Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific plate grinds underneath the American plate, it splits into segments. It's like a sheet of plywood passing through a row of buzzsaws. This segmentation appears to be largely driven by irregular distribution of rigid rocks in the overlying North American plate. Rigid rocks on the North American plate, the crust of the earth where we're walking and living. Okay? The segmentation happens as the Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific plate take a deep dive under the North American plate. The rocks of the North American plate segment the Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific plate. They tear the plate apart. Okay? They tear the plate apart, which leaves an uneven warp of the incoming plate. An uneven warp of the incoming plate, meaning the Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific plate. It's actually getting torn apart by the overbearing North American plate. Okay? Now, that segmentation is very important because this is just one way to stop an earthquake. This is just one way to stop an earthquake. During the quake, a fault will start to slip like this. The fault will start to slip like this at a single underground point or hypocenter. At a single underground point or hypercenter. Okay? How does that happen? As I've tried to explain before, why are the plates moving? How do the plates move? Like I said, we have had solar flares. We have had coronal mass ejections that eject solar plasma material away from the sun. That plasma material heads out into space, and when it reaches the Earth, it goes like this. It goes like this. Some of that plasma radiation penetrates the magnetosphere of the Earth. The magnetosphere is helping protect the atmosphere of the Earth and the Earth itself from some of this plasma radiation. Yes, the magnetosphere is partially doing its job, but it's still weak right now. It's only weak because we just come out of a solar minimum. We're presently in a solar maximum. And as we continue to get these major solar flares like we've seen as of late, it is actually strengthening the magnetosphere. That plasma radiation is going through the magnetosphere and through the atmosphere of the Earth. The Earth is getting that plasma radiation. It's absorbing it. Rob52 just gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you, Rob. We appreciate it. Rob, I'm going to give you a EMA sticker on your Super Chat. Thank you so much. I'm also going to give you a thumbs up for that. We appreciate your supporting this channel. Rob, God bless you, brother. Rob is a very good friend of mine. I talked to him earlier this afternoon. He's a very close friend of mine. Anyway, getting back to this. The plasma radiation comes over here to our fault zones. It comes over here to the crust of the earth that we walk on. Every day, we walk on the crust. What happens? The plasma radiation heats up the plates. The plasma radiation and electromagnetic radiation caused by planetary alignments go through the magnetosphere, through our atmosphere, and over to the plates. They heat up the plates. All that gunk and grime where the plates are hitting each other, all that gunk and grime is turning into an oily, greasy substance. All that gravel, all that dirt, all of that biological material that's held those plates in place turns into a oily, greasy substance when those plates heat up. That oily, greasy substance allows those plates to more frequently move like this. So during a quake, the fault will start to slip at a single underground point, or what they call a hypocenter. The motion will then spread along the entire fault. That seismic energy, that motion, spreads along the fault line. Large faults provide more room for more quakes, more tremors to propagate. Large faults provide more room for tremors or earthquakes to propagate, giving rise to bigger and longer lasting quakes. But if a fault is segmented like we're talking about, if a fault is segmented, the breaks may prevent motion on one segment from continuing onto another segment. Just like we studied on the Wasatch Fault in Utah. The Wasatch Fault has 7 segments, running from southeastern Idaho all the way down into central Utah. The Cascadia subduction zone has possibly four segments. Now, if that one segment prevents the other segments from getting that earthquake energy, that might be a good thing, because the break between the segments may prevent more motion on one segment from continuing onto another segment. Okay? If you understand what I'm talking about. This limits how large a quake might be or how far it might go. It limits how large a quake can get and how far the energy might go. The Cascadia megathrust earthquake is comprised of at least 4 segments. At least 4 segments. The most dangerous of which appears to sit off the coast of Washington State and the South Vancouver Island. That is why scientists believe that the next Cascadia megathrust earthquake will occur off the Strait of Juan de Fuca or off of the Cascadia subduction zone, right along the coast of Washington, Canada, Oregon, and California. The eastward moving Juan de Fuca fault slides underneath the North American plate like this. It's sliding under the North American plate at a relatively shallow angle like this. Once it gets past the entrance of the North American plate, it takes a deep dive after that in towards the center of the Earth. But at the entrance, just underneath the North American fault like this, it takes a shallow dive, a shallow angle. Now, the megathrust depth is shown with the shallowest depths highlighted in yellow that you see here. The mega earthquake's depths are shown with the shallowest depths indicated by yellow, and orange, and moderate depths in green, and the deepest sections in blue and purple. The deepest sections are in blue and purple. Okay? Black lines mark the edges of the fault. The black lines mark the edges of the fault segments, and the wavy red lines demarcates the edge of rigid underground rock layer that may be warping the megathrust earthquake. It might be warping the megathrust earthquake and contributing to further segmentation. Nevertheless, it is still very possible for some quakes to spread across several or all of the segments, just like we told you about the Wasatch Fault in Utah. Over in Utah, there are 7 segments of the Wasatch Fault. Any one segment can comprise a 7.0 to 7.5 earthquake along the Wasatch Fault, or 2 or more or all segments of the fault may go together. So it's very possible that any one segment could go along with all the others. That's the same thing here on the North American plate with the Juan de Fuca and the Pacific plate subducting underneath the North American plate. One segment or all of them could go at the same time. There is evidence that says that the 1700 earthquake was such an earthquake. There is evidence that says that the earthquake was felt up and down the entire coastline from Alaska on down south to Mexico. The data that showed that the segment that extends from southern Vancouver Island is relatively smooth, making it easier for quakes to grow. Over in that southern part of Vancouver Island, and appears to descend beneath the North American plate at a very slight angle, only of about 2 to 4 degrees. The largest earthquakes generally occur on shallow dipping faults within subduction zones. Shallow dipping faults, large earthquakes. Remember that. Now, if it's shallow and really gently dipping, that means the earthquake could potentially propagate much further to the east and therefore to the coastline. It could propagate further to the east, meaning all the way across the entire United States and Canadian continent, and across the entire North American continent. Okay? The people living in Victoria, Seattle, Vancouver, those are the people that are going to feel the great waves of seismic waves that are going to hit here. Those people living in Victoria, Seattle, and Vancouver, those are the places where it's densely populated, folks. Now, the study that was just given to us provides a lot of information that can be used in accessing or assessing and forecasting earthquakes. This study gives us a lot of information here. Now, the U.S. Geological Survey in Golden, Colorado was not involved with this research, but they were given the details of the fault's geometry. And the fault's geometry is crucial for gauging how close future quakes might get to major cities like Seattle. The next update to the agency's hazard model for the Pacific Northwest will be made in 2029. 6 years from now. 6 years from now. Possibly after the Cascadia megathrust earthquake hits. Possibly as far after the major earthquake hits. So we may see the Cascadia earthquake sooner than they're going to do another study. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about this? Tim Gibson says, hit the New Madrid fault line. It could. It could. Now, I'm going to talk about the New Madrid fault now. Okay? Given the information we know, you need to know this. The fault is going to happen off the west coast of U.S. and Canada. The seismic energy is going to radiate across the entire continent. The seismic energy is going to radiate across the entire continent. It's going to cause earthquakes over in Yellowstone. It's going to cause earthquakes in Idaho. It's going to cause earthquakes in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. It's going to cause earthquakes up and down California as well, and Nevada, and New Mexico. It's going to cause seismic energy to go through Texas, over to Louisiana, Arkansas. All the southern states are going to feel it. All the northern states are also going to feel it, all the way to the East Coast. All parts of Canada are also going to feel it. It's not just going to be an earthquake that happens and nobody else is going to feel it. We're talking about the greatest earthquake that man has ever seen. It's going to be the largest, biggest, and most destructive earthquake that men have ever seen. Hurricane Heather says, Gil has a question, sir. I'm ready for that question. Gil says, if you knew it was, say, 90% of what's happening in 2 days, would you tell or try to avoid a panic? I would tell. I would most certainly tell you. Why? Because we're going to try to save lives here. I could give a flying rat's frosty keister what USGS does. They've been hiding this information for years. A lot of this information has already been given out, but USGS doesn't want anybody to know about it. When we have seismic energy like I'm thinking is going to have, we will tell about it. Just like we've been showing you the earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. 3 years ago, all we were seeing were just tremors. 1.2, 1.5, 1.7 tremors. Over the past 3 years on the New Madrid Fault, we've been seeing those tremors go to minor earthquakes, 2.0 to 2.9 earthquakes. Then those earthquakes have gone to small earthquakes, 3.0, 3.9. We have even been seeing 4.0, 4.9 earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. No, we have not seen large 5.0s at all, but we have seen at least 4.5 and maybe a little bit larger earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. We've been telling you about it because we think that people deserve to know about it. And tonight I'm going to show you some of those earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. You need to know. If the New Madrid Fault doesn't go before the Cascadia earthquake does, the Cascadia earthquake could trigger the New Madrid Fault. Given what we know about the New Madrid Fault, the Cascadia earthquake could come across the entire continent and trigger the New Madrid Fault, and trigger other faults all the way across the continent. It could do that. Arnold Smith is asking, the North and South poles are already at equilibrium, but the larger the mass, the more earthquake potential. Due to the expanse crossing over and into different regions as centrifugal energy, the high arc. It could happen. It could happen. Hardneck Farm says, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm worried about the New Madrid Fault. You should be. You should be. Let's go back to 2011. Back in August 2011, I was part of the first earthquake drill that was ever done regarding the New Madrid Fault. August 2011. It was the 200th anniversary of the New Madrid Fault going. The 200th anniversary of the New Madrid Fault going. I flew into Little Rock, Arkansas on a Friday night. I met with all the leadership that was there to do the earthquake drill. I was part of that leadership. Our leadership team met with every one of the leaders in that area. Police, fire, paramedics, National Guard troops. We met with all the leadership on a Friday night to explain to everyone that was there what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. Everybody deserves to have that information, right? Absolutely. Saturday, we handed out gear. Sunday, everybody started preparing for Monday. On Monday at 7 a.m. in the morning, guess what happened? Guess what happened, guys? We had three 3.0 to 3.7 earthquakes on the fault. 3.0 to 3.7 earthquakes on the New Madrid fault. One of them was just north of Little Rock on the fault. The other two, one was over in near Tulsa, also on the fault, and the other one was just north of there, on the fault. We had a team of drill people in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They called us and said they felt the earth shake. 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes can be felt by people. Minor earthquakes 2.0 to 2.9 can't be felt by anybody unless they're very sensitive. The 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes can be felt, and those earthquakes were felt, both in Little Rock, where I was at, and over in Oklahoma as well. Our people felt those. Isn't it ironic, on the day that we start the New Madrid fault drill, we have 3 small earthquakes. 3 small earthquakes. Well, guess what? Since that time, for years, all there were tremors. All that was happening were just tremors. Those small earthquakes only happened on that day. Nothing else happened until just about 2 years ago. The tremors that were happening on the New Madrid fault at the time grew and grew and grew. They grew from tremors to minor 2.0, 2.9 earthquakes, all the way up to 3.5 to 4.0 earthquakes. And tonight, I'm going to show you those earthquakes. I will show you those earthquakes right now. You need to see it. You absolutely deserve to see it. Okay? I've been watching this for quite some time. Now, this earthquake seismogram here is from Arkansas. It's from Arkansas. Now, I'm going to zoom into it so you can see it. Okay? These seismograms up at the top left-hand corner start at midnight every day. This is Tyronza, Arkansas, southeastern Arkansas. What you're seeing at the top is not much of anything. Occasionally, for the first few hours of this morning, all we saw was basically microquakes and nothing else. Occasionally you would see one of these small tremors. Occasionally. Then on this blue line, which is 1:30 in the morning, that you see here on the left, on the far left-hand side, on the blue line, it'd be 1:30 in the morning. These lines are 15 minutes long. Each of these individual lines represents 15 minutes of time. You see tremors. You see almost nothing going on, and then all of a sudden you see tremors. The line gets thicker here. This is not magma, this is seismic energy. Lines get thicker here. These are tremors, long duration tremors. 1.0 to 1.1 tremors here. Then throughout the morning here, you see these long duration tremors, and you also see occasional tremors. Occasional tremors. Then after 4 a.m. this morning, what happens here? After 4:05 a.m., all of a sudden, this is where the tremors got larger. 1.5 to 1.8 tremors. 1.5 to 1.8 tremors just after 4:05 a.m. this morning. After that, the tremors got less than that. Again, they subsided down to about 1.0 to 1.1 tremors, 1.2 tremors. Then 4:15 on the red line beneath that. You see these occasional tremors again. You see 5 of them during that 15-minute time period. At 4:30 on the blue line, you see these long duration tremors happening with an occasional 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 tremor here. Then what happens after that? All of a sudden we see all these other tremors pop up. Seismic energy increased at 5 a.m. It continued increasing to where you see on this blue line after 6:30 this morning. Okay? At about 6:07 a.m. this morning, we saw our first 2.8 earthquake on this blue line. Our first 2.8 earthquake. At 7:05, on the black line here, you see a 2.5, 2.6 earthquake here. At 7:45 over here on the left-hand side, we move 7:46, 7:47, 7:48, 7:49. Right before 7:50, we have another 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Then on the blue line over here on the left-hand side is 4:30 a.m. 4:31, 4:32, 4:33, 4:34, 4:35, we have a 3.0 earthquake. We have our first 3.0 earthquake of the day here. Isn't that interesting? This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. We have tremors, then we have minor earthquakes, and all of a sudden we have a full-blown 3.0 earthquake. And all these other earthquakes that you see on the seismogram. You're seeing it here. This is exactly what I've been talking about. We have been seeing nothing but tremors for the longest time. Then all of a sudden, out of almost nowhere 2 years ago, these tremors began to be tremors and microquakes. Tremors and minor earthquakes. Microquakes are 0.1 to 0.9. Those are microquakes. Tremors are anything 1.0 to 1.9. Minor earthquakes are 2.0 to 2.9. And 3.0, 3.9 are small earthquakes. And that's what we see here at 4:05 a.m. this morning. I'm sorry, that's not true. It was 8:35 this morning. A 3.0 earthquake. A 3.0 earthquake. This is exactly what we've been talking about. Okay? On the pneumatic fault. And this is just one location. This is just one town here. Southeastern Arkansas. Let's go a bit north to Catfish, Arkansas. Look at this. It was fairly quiet this morning until after 7 a.m. At 7:44 over here on the right on the blue line here. Okay? We went from tremors all the way up to a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. minor earthquake. This whole sequence here. Okay? We went from a 1.1, 1.2 tremor over here further on the left to where we got over here at 7:44 a.m. this morning. And then we have a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Then look what happens at 11 a.m. this morning on the black line on the left-hand side. We go from tremors, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 tremors, all the way up to 2.0 earthquake, and up to a 2.9 earthquake. 2 minutes later, we have our first 3.0 earthquake here. Catfish Pond, Arkansas. From 10:30 on down to 12 noon. 12 noon would be on the far bottom right-hand side. Let's take you over to Marktree, Arkansas. Actually, before that, let's go to Manila, Arkansas. Look at this. It's been quiet all day long, literally, except for right here. On this blue line here after 7:30. 7:30 is over here on the left-hand side on the blue line. We come all the way over here. Okay? This is 7:43 this morning. 2.3 earthquakes. 2.3 earthquakes and a 3.0. And on the right-hand side after that, we have probably a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake after that. Manila, Arkansas had a 3.0. Small earthquake. People felt that today. People felt this earthquake. But not to be outdone at Marktree, Arkansas. Look at this. We see this every day here at Marktree, Arkansas. Every day. Without fail. Without fail every day. Look at these earthquakes here. Look at these earthquakes here. These are big earthquakes. Okay, this one here on the green line here. The green line here over on the left-hand side is 1:45 a.m. this morning. We come over here 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. At 1:49 a.m. this morning, all we had was 1.0, 1.1 earth tremors. 1 minute later is 1.2 tremors. Then within the next 40 seconds, we had 1.4, 1.5 tremors. Seconds later, we had a 2.0 earthquake that turned into a 3.0 earthquake. And then look at the sequence here. This whole seismic sequence lasted over 2 minutes. The seismic sequence here lasted over 2 minutes. Anybody that's over here in Marktree, Arkansas felt that earthquake this morning. They felt their beds jiggle. Anybody that was up walking around on the floors or on the ground felt the ground move. Then after that, it wasn't until almost 2:45 a.m. this morning. Again, the tremors start moving again. We see 2.4, 2.5 tremors. Then we see 2.0, 2.3 earthquake, minor earthquakes. Then all of a sudden, the earth starts really moving. It moves for almost 2 full minutes. Shaking that could be felt. 2.9, 3.0 earthquakes, and the shaking continues for another 3 minutes. They had a secondary wave that lasted another 3 minutes afterwards. On the 4 o'clock line, on the black line on the left-hand side, We come over here to about 4:07 a.m. this morning on the black line. These are tremors here, a tremor sequence. The tremor sequence lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes. Tremors. Tremors. After that, at 4:15 on the red line, we have tremors again. Not as strong as the one before that, just a minute before that, but tremors nonetheless. Then we drop down here to 5 a.m. on the left-hand side. You can't even see 5 a.m. because of the red seismic energy on the line below it. But that line started over here on the right-hand side here at approximately 4:13 a.m. with nothing but tremors. 4:14 a.m. the tremors got larger. 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 tremors. Then, over here at 4:15, no, I think that's 5:15. The black line was 5 a.m., the red line here is 5:15. All of a sudden, those tremors built into minor earthquakes. 2.3 to 2.9, all the way up to 3.0 earthquakes. And that earthquake sequences went on for over 3 minutes. Okay? Then the next time we had any appreciable earthquake energy, it happened after 8:30 this morning on the blue line. Actually 6:30, I'm sorry, on the blue line. Then at 7 a.m. on the black line, we come over 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. At 7:04 a.m., the next seismic sequence began. This seismic sequence was cut off on the top and cut off on the bottom, as it shows right now. That should have been a 3.0 earthquake, but because it was cut off on the top and the bottom, we know that this earthquake was substantially larger. 3.5 to 4.0 earthquake here in Madrid, Arkansas. This happens every day, multiple times a day. In this case, you see all these earthquakes? That just happened this morning. All these earthquakes happened this morning. That seismic sequence lasted over 2 minutes. 3.5, 4.0 earthquakes. The ground shaking. How would you like to be here getting ready to go to work at 7 this morning and all of a sudden the ground shakes where you're standing? Inside your bathroom, inside your bedroom, in your kitchen. You're hearing your plates rattle in the cupboards. You hear your pots and pans shaking. And you wonder what in the heck is going on. And you know what's going on. You're very familiar with earthquakes. This energy's been going on here at Madrid, Arkansas for at least 2 years. This has been going on for 2 years. I've been watching it. I've been reporting it. After 7:30 this morning, on the blue line, we come over here on the blue line to approximately 7:40 a.m. this morning. We have another earthquake, another 3.0 earthquake minimum. The top and the bottom of that seismic sequence in blue has also been cut off. This may have been as large as a 3.5 to 4.0 earthquake. This has been going on for a long time. The next one we have is after 9:15 this morning. At 9:19 a.m. this morning, we have another 3.0 earthquake. That seismic sequence lasts for about 10 seconds. Then after 10:13 a.m. this morning, we have another sequence that came out with tremors, minor earthquakes, and then all of a sudden All of a sudden, out of nowhere, at 10:13 a.m. this morning, we have another 3.0 earthquake sequence. And again, the top and the bottom of this sequence were cut off, meaning it was probably larger than they're showing. And you see again at after 10:45 on the green line, more earthquakes. 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes. On the red line after 11 o'clock, that is 11:15. At 11:17 this morning, we still see a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake happen. The bottom part of that sequence was cut off because it went off the paper. But we can see the top part. Nearly another 3.0 earthquake happening here in Madrid, Arkansas. What happened here this afternoon? This afternoon, the seismic energy did not continue like it usually does. All we have here at Madrid, Arkansas this afternoon is nothing but tremors. Very, very minor tremors. Okay? The pneumatic earthquake fault is moving. Let's go further south along the Mississippi. Let's go further south along the pneumatic fault. We come to Truman, Arkansas. Truman, Arkansas. Look what happened this morning. Right off the bat after midnight on the left-hand side, we have a bunch of tremors, don't we? Then it quiets down for nearly an hour and a half to 2 hours almost. Then all of a sudden the tremors begin. All of a sudden the tremors begin. Our first real earthquake happens after 8:44 a.m. this morning on the blue line, center right-hand side. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Minor earthquake. But then it kicks into higher gear after after 8:45 on the green line. All of a sudden we have another 3.0 earthquake. Those 3.0 earthquake sets continue for over a minute and a half. 3.0 earthquakes. What else happens? What else happens here? We drop down here another 2 lines over here to 7:15 on the red line. Over on the right-hand side, all of a sudden we have 2.9 or 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes, and those earthquakes continue to happen for 3 minutes long. 3-minute long segments of seismic energy. Now these probably were not felt. This seismic energy at 7:26 a.m. this morning, those are probably nothing more than 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes. Minor earthquakes. Nothing else happens after that. All the rest of the morning. It's been fairly quiet. Nothing but tremors here this morning. Truman, Arkansas this morning. Nothing but small earthquakes and tremors. Truman, Arkansas this afternoon, the same thing. Nothing but tremors here. Nothing but tremors. Now, I want to show you Tyronza, Arkansas. Tyronza, Arkansas, further south over here on the southeastern side of Arkansas. This is Tyronza, Arkansas here. The top of this seismogram here, folks, is 12 noon. This is 12 noon over on the top left-hand side. We come over here to about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, yeah. 12:08 p.m. this afternoon. On the top black line, a 3.0 earthquake. Another 3.0 earthquake. Look at all these other earthquakes here as well. 12:31 this afternoon, we have another 3.0 earthquake right there in the blue. Look at all these others, 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes here. Tyronza, Arkansas, the southern part of the Pneumatic Fault in Arkansas. It happens. This is happening, guys. Again, I've been telling you for quite some time that for several years all we saw were tremors. Now we're showing you earthquakes here. These earthquakes have been occurring for quite some time. Let me show you in Missouri, the center part of the Pneumatic Seismic Zone. This is the Barker Cemetery, Missouri, the center part of the Pneumatic Seismic Zone. Folks, all you're seeing here are minor earthquakes. All you're seeing here until we get to the bottom here are minor earthquakes. 2.0, 2.4, 2.5. Over here on the top right on the blue is a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Minor earthquake. Minor earthquake. Then we drop down here to the green line here on the bottom right hand side. 10:58 a.m. this morning. 10:58 a.m. this morning we have a 3.0 earthquake. Over here on the left hand side on the black line here. I'm sorry, that would be 9:58 a.m., a 3.0 earthquake. Over here on the right would be 10 a.m., 2.7, 2.8 earthquake on the black line. At 11:01 a.m. this morning, we have another tremor here. You can see nothing but tremors here at Barker Cemetery this morning. Very quiet morning. Sometimes in the past, the entire seismogram is covered with tremors and minor earthquakes. Sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Barker Cemetery this afternoon, the same thing happens. Look at this. Nothing but tremors until we get down here to the bottom red line here. 16, let me see what this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So this would be 4:25 p.m. here. 4:25 p.m. we have a 3.0 earthquake and a bunch of other minor earthquakes and tremors after that. Okay? Barker Cemetery. Again, Missouri is the center part of the Pneumatic Fault. The center part of the Pneumatic Fault, guys. Now, there's more than that. I want to show you East Prairie, Missouri. This is East Prairie, Missouri. Look at this. On the green line after 7:45 on the left-hand side. 11:54 a.m. this morning. I'm sorry, 7:54 a.m. this morning. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. 2.7 earthquake after that. Then tremors. Then all of a sudden we have our first 3.0 earthquake here. That earthquake sequence lasts several seconds here. You can see multiple epicenters here. You can see multiple epicenters here. Let me enlarge the side mirror so you can see this. You can see multiple epicenters here. It looks to me like 4 or 5 epicenters here, meaning several 3.0 earthquakes back to back to back. Then after that, on this red line here, this red line here is 8:15 on the left-hand side. way over here. Okay? 8:28 a.m. this morning. Another 3.2, 3.3 earthquake. Right behind it, another 3.2, 3.3 earthquake. East Prairie, Missouri. The center part of the pneumatic fault zone. I kid you not. I kid you not. We've seen this happen before. Many, many, many times before. Okay? Let me show you another one. Guam, Missouri. Guam, Missouri, guys. Look what happens here. This is nothing more than tremors. Nothing more than a buildup of tremors. On this top line, this would be midnight on the left-hand side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 minutes after midnight. 2.0 earthquake. Tremors building up and then dropping off from a 2.0 minor earthquake. And you can see other earthquakes here as well. The largest being here after 10:30 on the blue line here. It appears to be a 3.0 earthquake though. Okay? All the rest of these are nothing but tremors. This happens. This actually happens a lot. Okay. Today on the USGS map, USGS did not pay tribute to Marston, Missouri. USGS did not show any earthquakes in Marston, Missouri today. Look at this. The seismogram says something else. The seismogram says something else. We start seeing seismic energy here after 7 o'clock this morning. Tiny seismic energy. Tiny tremors. Then all of a sudden these tremors start off at 6:30. 6:33 a.m. this morning. 2.4, 2.5 earthquake. Then it died down to nothing more than tremors. Guess what? After 6:45 over here on the left, we move over here on the green line. More tremors and a minor earthquake. We move further over here to the right. 6:56 a.m. I'm sorry, 8:56 a.m. Our first 3.0 earthquake of the morning here. 30 seconds later, we have another 3.0 earthquake. Then what happens after 9 a.m.? Between 9 a.m. and 12 noon, we have dozens of 3.0 earthquakes, dozens of minor earthquakes. You can see the dozens of 3.0 earthquakes here. Marston, Missouri. And USGS didn't say one word about this on their map. Why not? Why not? Okay? The pneumatic fault is moving, guys. The pneumatic fault is moving. I want to go over to Portersville, Missouri now. Portersville, Missouri here. Look at this. On this top line, this is this afternoon. This is 12 noon over here on the black line at the top. Over here, just below that on the blue line, 12:30 this afternoon. Then we move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7:37, 1:37 this afternoon, we have at least a 3.1, 3.2 earthquake. Back to back to back. for several seconds. Then it was reduced to minor earthquakes and then tremors, and then a few minutes later, all of a sudden we have at least a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake again. Aftershocks. Aftershocks. And you can see all these other earthquakes here this morning. Or should I say this afternoon? I'm sorry. This is this afternoon. Pires, Missouri. 3:50 p.m. this afternoon. 3.0 earthquake here. Several 3.0 earthquakes. Back to back. You're seeing them here. USGS did not talk to us about any of this. Nothing. They don't make mention of it once. It's not the only place that has these earthquakes today. Guam, Missouri. All morning long. Guam, Missouri. All afternoon long as well. Pires, Missouri. I showed you earthquakes there. Tiptonville, Tennessee. Look at this. Tiptonville, Tennessee. Up at the top would be 12 midnight last night. Then 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. 2 p.m. I'm sorry, 2 a.m. 3 a.m. 4 a.m. 4:03 a.m. all we have is tremors. 4:04 a.m. all of a sudden those tremors become 2.0 earthquakes, minor earthquakes. Okay? Then after 6:30, I want to say 6:41 p.m. this afternoon, another 3.0 earthquake over here on the blue line on the right-hand side. Look at all these other tremors here. Look at that. Nothing but tremors here. Tiptonville, Tennessee. This is the eastern side of the New Madrid Fault. Earthquakes are still happening here. We've seen 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes just a few weeks ago here, all over the seismograph. It happens. The New Madrid Fault is alive and well. Let there be no mistake about the New Madrid Fault not moving. It is. It's moving every day. It is moving every day. Okay? Don't misunderstand me. The New Madrid Fault is moving. It's not going to stop. We are going to see a larger earthquake here. It's a matter of time. Now, I have some other things I want to discuss with you. As I said, more evidence has come out about the Trump shooting. 4 weeks ago, tomorrow. 4 weeks ago tomorrow, at 6:31 p.m., I hate even talking about this. I hate even talking about this. 6:31 p.m. Eastern Time in Butler, Pennsylvania. A shooter that had been seen for 3 hours wandering all around the fairgrounds at Butler, Pennsylvania. The police saw him. Then they lost sight of him. They saw him again later, 1 hour before President Trump got shot. The police attempted to contact him, but could not make contact with him, and he disappeared in the crowd. An hour later, they saw him on the roof of the EGR building. The EGR building. What's going on? Why? Why? The police called it in on the radio. The radio frequencies were humming that evening. They were humming. The Secret Service had established a radio frequency with the police where they could tell the Secret Service what's going on, and the Secret Service could respond. But the Secret Service did nothing. Nothing. Not anything at all. They did nothing. Period. It's sad. It's sad. The Secret Service did not do anything. The people, the private people were wandering around the fairground area. They saw Mr. Crooks on top of the EGR building. They were yelling at him. Mr. Crooks had a high-powered rifle with him. People were yelling at him and about him. The Secret Service and the police did nothing. Crooks could have opened fire at the people, but he did not do that. He was composed. He was seen on video from the fairground crowd where Trump was speaking. He was seen in cell phone video, seen running up and down the side or back of that building. They seen him. While Trump was on stage, they saw him. I saw the video last night. They saw him. They saw him at least an hour before he opened fire. He was on the building now. He got up, wandered back and forth, laid back down, got up, played with his cell phone for a few minutes, scrolled through his cell phone, laid back down. Nobody contacted him. Even a sharpshooter took a picture of him scrolling around on his phone. Nothing done. Nothing done. But what else happened? Let me show you. This man is Chris Martenson. This man is Chris Martenson. He's an audio specialist. Let me play this short video for you so you can hear what happened next. You need to hear this.
On the condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to speak publicly. The other, Richard Goldinger, who we've reported on here before, is the district attorney for Butler County, confirmed that a member of the county's emergency services unit, similar to a SWAT team, fired a shot at Crooks that prompted a reaction from the gunman. So I haven't been through all of my data yet to find out if this tracks, if this fits, but it does with this. Remember here, we're looking at this ninth shot right here. There's this weird double tap. I couldn't figure out what this was.
Okay, he says a weird double tap. A double tap is usually done by law enforcement at someone's head. It's done by law enforcement at somebody's head to make sure that that person goes down. He calls it a weird double tap.
Talked about this mystery. Here's shots 1, 2, 3 on a spectrogram. Here's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have this little thing, this little double tappy thing here. So what was that? Now I can reasonably guess that it's the sound of the explosion coming from behind the filmer, in this case, David Stewart, coming across, hitting the building right in front of him and coming straight back to him. That is a perfect echo surface. So boom, bang. I'll map all that out and give you the data on it at some future point if it seems worthwhile, but that tracks pretty well at this point in time. So now at least mystery is solved. And it turns out then that the Secret Service saying, oh, we engaged the shooter as soon as we recognized him and we neutralized him and we're the heroes. No, you're not. Wasn't you at all. Thank you for doing the kill shot, the coup de grace, but this is the hero of the day, whoever took that shot. Good thinking, and under that stressful situation to figure out all of a sudden you got to start shooting, because remember, there wasn't all that much time in between these things. Shot 9 was taken 5.89 seconds into the whole adventure from shot 1 oh my gosh, something's happening, orient, there's shooting going on. Find where you think the shooter is, see the shooter, safety off, maybe you have to chamber around, I don't know what condition they take their weapons in, and then you take the shot. That in 5.89 seconds, somebody buy this gentleman or gentlewoman a beer, or lots of beers. Well done. That is some good going right there. Now, it fits with earlier reporting we had where we know that a local police sniper, they said here, fired a shot at Crooks. They didn't have any snipers down on field here, or maybe there was one going off walking somewhere else. This is where they had their quick reaction forces, the QRFs, and they had basically, these are all people with sort of close quarter combat weapons, at least as far as I could tell. They got, EATECs, which are a swarm of a holographic red dot sort of a technology. They had, I didn't see a lot of, I don't know what they were carrying. I'm not sure if it was a sniper or not. This confused me, threw me off the scent for a while, because if this is true and it was a sniper, this has got to be false, because that's not where the snipers were hanging out. And then we have other questions. So I hope this is true, because it's a good story. It settles in, and it has the least amount of darkness associated with it. Now, Senator Chuck Grassley released this whole 46-page long thing, which I'm going to go over in detail.
Okay, he's not going to go over it right now, but notice this website. This is what I want to show you. www.grassley.senate.gov/detail_FPOTUS_FPOTUS_detail_redacted_PDF. Senator Grassley put this out. It's a 46-page document. 46 pages long by Chuck Grassley. You need to read this. I now have a copy of the document myself. This proves what we've been saying. This proves exactly what we've been saying. There was a first shooter, there was a second shooter, and there may have also been a third shooter. Chris Mortensen put this together for us. I showed you the first 8 rounds that were fired last week. And then the 9th round, which will supposedly be the kill shot. The 9th round was supposed to be the kill shot that was taken to neutralize a shooter. And now there's been a 10th shot. All 10 rounds, all 3 rounds were from the same gun. Number 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8 were from a different gun. The 9th one was from an even different weapon. The 10th one was from another different weapon. Possibly a sharpshooter. You need to see this. You can go over to Peak Prosperity on YouTube, and he has quite a few videos you can watch. He has quite a few videos you can watch. The Congress and the Senate are still putting together reports. The Congress and the Senate are still putting together reports. If you see or hear of an FBI report, it's going to be false information. 99% of it will be false information. Why? Because the government does not want you to know the truth of what's going on. The government will not let you know what's going on. They will cover it up. Just like they covered up the Kennedy shooting in 1963. And they still have not admitted what's going on even today. They've not put out the official statement even today. They won't let us see it. The Magruder film. Magruder did a gosh awful good job of giving us information. But the U.S. government covered that up as well. until recently. But we still don't have everything that's going on. Senator Cruz, Senator Hawley, Chuck Grassley, Senator Kennedy, all these senators question the FBI. They first question the Secret Service. Secret Service Director Cheadle quit. Then the Congress and the Senate brought in the director of the Secret Service that is in charge right now, and his assistant. And they lied through their teeth. I went over their statement after statement after statement all morning long. They lied through their teeth. There was even some voice analysts and body positioning analysts that said that Cheadle lied and the Secret Service acting director and his deputy lied to the Senate. Absolutely lied and covered it up. This, folks, is bad. This proves that there is a government cover-up from the highest levels of the government, possibly even Biden. This was a political shooting. This was a political shooting. Now, in this day of media coverage, there are a lot of people like me that look at this coverage and go, wow. There's other people that take it for face value and go, wow. Folks, the truth will come out here. The truth will come out. Whether or not the government is going to tell the truth or not, the truth will come out. We now live in a banana republic. We now live in a banana republic where politics will get you killed. Where politics will get you killed. Where politics will force you out of office. It's incredible what's happened. Miss K, Big K. Before Big K was brought in as the vice president-elect running for governor, or not governor, I'm sorry, running for president of the United States. Vice president running for president of the United States. Joe Biden had already accumulated 130 electoral votes. Joe Biden had already accumulated 130 electoral votes. There is no way Miss Big K can have those electoral votes legally. In other words, there's no way she can legally be elected to the President of the United States without those electoral votes. No way. No way, no how. Now there's some other things that can happen. They have to happen within the next 3 days. Number one, Big K must assuredly be the nominee of the Democratic Party within the next 3 days. The Democrat Party cannot wait until August 16th for the Democratic Convention in Chicago. They can't. She has to most assuredly be appointed as the heir apparent to the presidency of the United States. She must assuredly be put in that position by the party, or she cannot run for President of the United States. It's against the law. It's against the law. I've been doing a lot of research. I know what I'm talking about. You guys deserve to have the answers. What's going to happen here in the United States is going to affect everybody around the world. Total Vagabonds is here from Ireland. Total Vagabonds, it's a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being here with us. Now, why am I giving you this information on a Friday night? Why am I giving you this information on a Friday night? It's Preparedness Friday. I want to show you something else before we leave the air, but I also want to show you what's going to happen this weekend. Okay? This is the United States Weather Service. This was developed by the Weather Service. Let me zoom in here for you so you can see it. I'm going to enlarge this. What you're seeing is the cone of uncertainty for a tropical storm. Okay? Right here we see the storm. This storm is over here in the southern part of Cuba. 11 a.m. this morning. It's not quite a hurricane. It's going to move up through Cuba here. You see where it's going to be at 8 a.m. tomorrow. 8 p.m. on Saturday. It will have moved into the Gulf of Mexico here. It will have already caused a lot of heavy waves and winds and rain over here in the Florida Keys and over on the western side of Florida. Sunday morning, 8 a.m. It's still going to be off the coast of Central Florida, Central West Florida. But the storm will already have done damage along the west coast of Florida. This is where Naples, Florida is here by Sunday at 8 a.m. Then this storm is going to cross over Florida, up through the Panhandle. Okay? By 8 p.m. Sunday, it will be crossing over the Panhandle. By 8 a.m. Monday, it will be in Georgia, causing problems along the coast of Georgia. As you see, the cone of uncertainty has it coming up the entire coastline of South Carolina and North Carolina. By Wednesday at 8 a.m. Wednesday morning, it will be just off the coast of North Carolina. All of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and into Virginia will feel the wrath of this storm. Whether it is a full-blown hurricane or not, it's going to feel like it. Winds of anywhere from 35 miles per hour to 80 miles per hour. Yes, this storm could turn into a hurricane. As it enters into the warm Gulf of Mexico waters, it could be a Category 1 hurricane. Okay? It could happen. But then it crosses over Florida and loses strength. Then it comes out over here, still in the fairly warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean. It could still pick up steam and also turn into a Category 1 or a Category 2 storm by the time it reaches the coast of North Carolina. You need to be prepared. How many times have we talked about preparedness? We are into hurricane preparedness now. Note this cone contains the probable path of the storm center, but it does not show the size of the storm yet. Hazardous conditions can and will occur outside of this cone. You need to be aware of that. Heavy rain, 35 to 45 miles per hour winds or better. I'm going to keep you up on this no matter what happens. I will go live as it comes into Florida tomorrow and Sunday. I will advise you what's going on here. But we have been talking about these storms for a long time. We have expected 14 named storms and at least 12 hurricanes by November. It's going to happen. Harry Fodder is asking me here in the chat. Look up what George Stephanopoulos said. I have. on one of his assassination reports just about a week and a half ago. It was amazing what he said. Let me see if I can pick it up here. Hold this a second. I'm going to try to find it here for you. You're going to be blown away, guys. You're going to be blown away about what he says. Hold on a second. I've seen this clip from Assassination several times in the past week, and never ceases to amaze me here. It really doesn't. Let me try to pull this clip. I want you to see it. George Stephanopoulos introduced one of his cohorts in crime on Assassination, and he lets some information out. It's unreal what he says. He says that the government is the one who set up that shooting. He comes right out and says it. The newsman came right out and said it. You can't get any better than that. You really can't. It's incredible what happened. I'm trying to pick this out now. Hold on a second. Just a second. I really want you to see this. This is great. Okay. Just a second. I'm bringing it up for you. You're going to love this, guys. You guys are absolutely going to love this. This is awesome.
John?
Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas starts us off from Washington. Good morning, Pierre.
George, good morning. Our audience is about to see the frantic seconds in the moments after the government tried to kill former President Trump. It's all...
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, guys? Where the government tried to kill President Trump. It doesn't get any better than that. Watch this again.
Play that for us, John.
Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas starts us off from Washington. Good morning, Pierre.
George, good morning. Our audience is about to see the frantic seconds in the moments after the government tried to kill former President Trump.
You can't get any better than that. This is the newsman talking about the assassination attempt on President Trump, where the government tried to assassinate the president. Unreal. Unreal. It's amazing George Stephanopoulos let this on the air, let alone ABC News. Incredible. Completely incredible. They did it. Mary M says Stephanopoulos or Papadopoulos. It's not Papadopoulos, it's Stephanopoulos. Okay? Stephanopoulos was one of Bill Clinton's news people, one of his news advisors. The SJN USMC says it also sounds like he could have been saying government, but that's not what he said. He said government. He said government. It's incredible what he said. Folks, it doesn't get any better than that. When the news media says the government tried to assassinate President Trump, it's all over the internet. Harry Potter says that he sent me something one today, his pop-up. Well, we'll see. I'll look at it, and I may put it on there tomorrow. But anyway, guys, that's what happened. What have we been doing to make sure we're prepared for what happens? It's going to get very dangerous for us. I promise you, in the coming days, it's going to get very dangerous. Songstress Griffin says, please repeat it. Let's go back here to this clip. Let's repeat it here for you. Give me a second here. Let me pull it up here.
Yes, John.
Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas starts us off from Washington. Good morning, Pierre.
George, good morning. Our audience is about to see the frantic seconds in the moments after the gunman tried to kill former President Trump. It's all caught on police body cam video. And warning to our family at home, what you're about to see may be disturbing. Seconds in the moments after the gunman tried to kill former President Trump.
In the moments after the government tried to kill President Trump. The first time he said government, the second time he said when the government tried to kill President Trump. Let me play that piece for you again.
And warning to our family at home, what you're about to see may be disturbing. Seconds in the moments after the gunman tried to kill former President Trump. It's all caught on police.
It's unreal, guys. It's unreal. It's there. Folks, Dumbzo says, did he stutter or slip? He might have slipped. He might have slipped. But he came out with it anyway. Now, folks, it's late. I don't want to continue this program any longer because we're going to lose viewers. It's getting late. We've talked about emergency preparedness before. A lot before. You need to have preparedness plans, whether it's for a hurricane, earthquakes, or whatever it is. You need to have a plan to follow in case something happens to you. And yet, it's not just in case, it will happen. We've seen it happen time and time again. Time and time again. Make sure you have a preparedness plan. A while back, I had my preparedness plan out here that I wrote. 111 pages. For my family. For my family. You folks should also have a plan, whether it be for a fire, a flood, rain, landslide, whether it be for hurricane, an earthquake, a tornado, whatever kind of calamity will happen, including political nonsense. Folks, you need to know what's going on. You need to be very much aware of what's going on. That's why we cover so much on this program. I want you to hear it. I want you to know how important it is for your safety. You need to know what's going on around you. You need to keep your head on a swivel. I've been talking about this for a very, very long time now. You need to keep your head on a swivel. It's more important now than ever before. Now, before we go here, I've been sharing spiritual thoughts with you for about 4 years now. Tonight I'm going over to Acts chapter 6. This is where apostles were chosen. Okay? 12 apostles were chosen by Jesus Christ. In verse 2, chapter 6. Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them, and said, It is not reason that we should leave the word of the Lord, word of God, and serve tables. Let me read that again. Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them, and said, It is not reason that we should leave the word of God and serve tables. Wherefore, brethren, look ye out among you 7 men of honest report, full of the Holy Ghost and wisdom, whom we may appoint over this business. But we will give ourselves continually to prayer and to the ministry of the word. There's a reason. The 12 wanted the disciples to know the importance of prayer and the importance of the apostles choosing people of good moral worth. Okay? But we will give ourselves continually to prayer and to the ministry of the word. And the saying pleased the whole multitude, and they chose Stephen, a man of full faith and of the Holy Ghost, and Philip, and Prochorus, and Nicanor, and Timon, and Parmenius, and Nicholas, a proselyte of Antioch, whom they set before the apostles, and when they had prayed, they laid their hands on them. The apostles had the authority of God to lay their hands on people and set them apart. That's what happened. Brothers and sisters, we all need to be important to the Lord. We all need to be ready for whatever assignment the Lord gives to us. Whatever assignment the Lord gives to us, it's important. It's important. It's important for you. It's important for your family, your children, and grandchildren. Be prepared to accept assignments of God that He wants you to do. Because we're soon going to be in a calamity. The world is falling apart all around us. Everywhere. Evil is everywhere around us. It's not going to stop. Brothers and sisters, I have a testimony of God. I have a testimony of God and what He wants us to do. It's important. Please pray. Please open yourselves up to the Spirit of God. And listen with a sincere heart, with real intent, and pray, and find out what the Lord wants you to do. And I know for a fact He will show it to you through the gift and power of the Holy Ghost. I know that. I know that. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I love you. We have not come these far miles to be together for any other reason other than God wanting us to be together. We are Emergency Management Associates. Please, though, if you want to join our family here and be a member on the YouTube channel, please do so. Right below this video today, you'll see a link to join as a member of the channel. I've kept the cost very low, $1.99, $2.99, and $3.99. Other channels have as high as $50 to be a member of the channel. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to be a member of the channel. We will start having members-only meetings very soon. I want everybody to be a member. I want everybody to be with us. It's important to get the message of emergency preparedness out. We've been trying that for 5.5 years. We talked a lot about earthquakes. I've given you reasons that the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to happen. I've shown you other earthquakes around the globe and earthquakes that even happened 1.5 years ago. They're going to happen again. We just got through having a major earthquake just off the coast of Mindanao, Philippines. It's not going to be the only earthquake, and there's going to be damage. And as soon as I have more information, I'll pass it on to you. We have a storm coming up through Cuba into Florida. We will find out where it goes and we'll pass information on to you. Be aware of it. Make sure you have your preparedness kits. Make sure your cars are full of gas. Make sure you have water and enough food necessary to get you through at least 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or a year or longer. You're going to need it very soon. Prices are going to continue going up drastically. Things are going to get so much worse. I love you all. May God bless you to do the things that you need to do. I love you. I really do. God loves you. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. Be safe. Have fun. Bye-bye.